Dear friends, today we are going to episode number 23. In episode number 22, we had read and discussed rules 64 and 66 of Order 21. 64 and 66. Now today, for better understanding of these rules, we will refer to some of the decisions of the Supreme Court and Kerala High Court, which will be helpful to you in understanding the nuances of these rules. Now, at first, I would like to address you a question as to whether to have a valid sale, attachment is required, mandatory. What will happen if no attachment was effected? An order of attachment was passed or not passed? Or even if an order of attachment is passed, unless it is complied with in the manner indicated in the CPC, the attachment will not come into effect. Somehow or other there was no attachment, and the property was sold in court auction. The absence of attachment would make the sale void. That was the question considered in 1970 KLT 949. Why I cite this decision is that this is relevant in the sense that sometimes there may be absence of attachment, or an item of property may not be mentioned in the attachment schedule, or the details of the improvements may not be shown, absence of mention of buildings or other appurtenances in the property schedule. What will have the effect? It was held in 1970 KLT 949. Absence of attachment itself does not make the sale void. Several decisions have been cited, discussed in detail, and also the court held. See the explanation to Rule 90, which was added by the 1976 amendment, which makes the position clear that I will read the explanation to Rule 90. The mere absence of or defect in attachment of the property sold shall not by itself be a ground for setting aside a sale under this rule. So that is relevant. Please read. Please also read 2011 3 KLJ 179, which is equivalent to 2011 3 KLT 2011 3 KLT short note 32, case number 33. The name of the case is Hamsat BV versus Safiyat BV. And there was a land and building. In the attachment schedule and in all the sale papers, only the land was mentioned with the boundaries, survey numbers and all those things. An objection was raised that this contains only the land and not the building, and therefore the sale of the building has not taken place. That was negatived in that decision. Now, we have seen so much or such portion thereof as may seem necessary to satisfy the decree. In Rule 64 of Order 21 and also Rule 66 or property to be sold or part of the property would be sufficient to satisfy the decree, such part occurring in clause A of subrule 2 of rule 66. So emphasis has been made in rule 64 and 66 to such portion of the property. What is the significance of this vis-a-vis the court sale? Whether the sale can be set aside on the ground that the court did not apply its mind. All these questions have been considered in a decision of the Supreme Court in AR 1990 Supreme Court 119. AR 1990 Supreme Court 119. Name of the case is Ampadi Narasaya, AMBATI, Ampati Narasaya versus Subbarao. This decision has been followed in hundreds of decisions which came subsequently. The various high courts and also Supreme Court also in various decisions have followed this decision in 1990 Supreme Court 119. And what is that the court has said in that? In all execution proceedings, the court has to decide first whether it is necessary to bring the entire attached property to sale or such portion thereof as may be necessary to satisfy the decree. If the property is large and the decree to be satisfied is small, the court must bring only such portion of the property, the proceeds of which would be sufficient to satisfy the claim of the decree holder. Now, it was also said, it is immaterial whether the property is one or several. Even if the property is one, if a separate portion could be sold without violating the provisions of law, only such portion of the property could be sold. Then also held, this is not just a discretion, but an obligation imposed on the court. Care must be taken to put only sufficient property to sale. Then further held, sale held without examining the above aspect would be illegal and without jurisdiction. Then further held, there is a duty cast upon the court to sell only such property or a portion thereof to satisfy the decree. It is a mandate to the legislature which cannot be ignored. It is a mandate to the legislature which cannot be ignored. We will discuss this decision and some other decisions also while dealing with the Rule 90. Now, the importance of this decision with reference to Rule 64 and 66 is that a duty is cast upon court, whether the judgmentator raises the objection or not. There is a duty cast on the court that only such portion of the property alone shall be sold which is sufficient to satisfy the decree. Then I refer to 1970 KLT 949. Then let us see 1994 1 SCC 131. 94 1 SCC 131. Deshbandhu Gupta versus NL Anand. There in paragraph 7, it is held, the purpose of attachment under 54, Rule 54 is to make the JD aware that the attachment has been effected and that he should not make a transfer or encumber the property thereafter. Sale is not void for non-service of the attachment order since it is only an irregularity. See, this is to be read along with 70 KLT and Hamsad Bibi's decision, Safia Bibi, Hamsad Bibi. So that attachment is to protect the interest of the decree holder, so that after the order of attachment has been served or the attachment has been effected, the judgmentator will not be able to sell that property, alienate that property, encumber that property, and if he does so, it will be void. That is in section 64 of the CPC, it is held. That is a rule, that is a law on that point. Now, with respect to the proclamation, we have seen in Rule 66, second proviso, provided that further that nothing in this rule shall be construed as requiring the court to enter into the proclamation of sale its own estimate of the value of the property, but the proclamation shall include the estimate, if any, given by either or both of the parties. This is added by the 1976 amendment. Even before the amendment of 1976, there is a Supreme Court judgment on that point. AER 1973 Supreme Court 2593. AER 1973 Supreme Court 2593 by Justice K.K. Matthew and Justice M.H. Beg. Name of the case is that Gajadhar Prasad versus Babu Bhakta Ratan and others. What happened in that case? Execution court did not show the valuation as suggested by the judgment letter. It simply accepted the valuation made by the decree holder. Decree holder purchased the properties in court auction. Judgment letter filed an application under Rule 90 of Order 21 to set aside the sale. The executing court as well as the High Court rejected his prayer, but the Supreme Court set aside the sale. And please read paragraph 15 of that judgment. Very elaborate discussion. All the decisions of the various high courts have been dealt with, and it was held that the court has only to decide what are these material particulars in each case. We think that there is no obligation imposed under Rule 6. The court has only to decide what these material particulars are in each case. We think this is an obligation imposed by Rule 66(2)(e). In discharging it, the court should normally state the valuation given by both the decree holder as well as the judgment letter, where they have both valued the property, and these do not appear fantastic. It was further held that if the executing court does not apply its mind to give any consideration whatsoever to the objections of the judgment letter, we think a material irregularity would be committed by the executing court. That was also held. Along with this, please also see 2008 1 KLT 604 P.K. Kuruvilar versus Corporation Bank. So the requirement is satisfied. Decree holder has shown a valuation that the property is worth only 5 lakhs. Judgment letter says that it is worth 20 lakhs. The court need not fix a price. And going by 1973 Supreme Court, court may do it. If it does it, court has to pass a judicially considered order. Why it is so? On seeing the proclamation, the judgment letter will be relying on the court's valuation. Court has said so. So that may be the proper price. I may purchase it. Somebody may quote a very high price. Then all his attempt would be futile. So he has to assess the value of the property. All the relevant materials must be submitted, produced along with in the proclamation of sale, and then leave it at that. The court, if fixes an upset price, that is a probable market value of the property, then the court has to consider all the relevant materials and pass a judicially considered order. The court need not do it. Why should the court worry about it? Duty of the court is satisfied, going by the second proviso to Rule 66, to state the value as suggested by both parties and leave it at that, to the discretion of the intending purchaser. He may assess the value, and if the court does it carefully by passing a judicially considered order. Please also see another decision, that is AER 1987, Supreme Court 2081. Messrs. Shalimar Cinema versus Bhasin, BHASIN, Bhasin Film Corporation and another. It was a sale of a cinema theatre. The court considered the question whether the court was expected to fix an upset price, that is a probable price which the property may fetch. And it was held that it is not necessary. The requirement of the second proviso would be satisfied if both the value as suggested by the decree holder and as suggested by the judgment are shown in the sale proclamation. But in paragraph 3 it was held, but we do wish to say that the court has a duty to see that the requirements of Order 21 Rule 66 are properly complied with. In sales under direction of the court, it is incumbent on the court to be scrupulous in the extreme. Though it may not be necessary for the court to make a valuation and enter it in the sale proclamation in every case, it is desirable, at least in cases of sale of valuable property, that the court makes its valuation and enter it in the sale proclamation. We think it necessary to add that no action of the court or its officers should be such as to give rise to criticism that it was done in an indifferent or casual way. The interesting part is that this is a judgment by 3 judges. 1973 Supreme Court 2593 was not referred to. 1973 Supreme Court referred to all the relevant decisions of the various high courts, though the points decided in both the cases are the same. What we expect is that we get a discussion about 1973 Supreme Court, but unfortunately it was not done. Now we will go to 94 Supreme Court 94 1 SCC 131. I refer to Deshabandhu Gupta's case. There are several points decided in that case. We will come to that later, and we will see whether it goes against some of the earlier decisions of Supreme Court. What does the Kerala High Court say about it, and all those things we will see. Then now itself we will deal with it. Deshabandhu Gupta's case. What is said there? Deshabandhu Gupta's case. '94 1 SCC 131. Deshabandhu Gupta versus N.L. Anand and another. Please note, two judges. What are the points held? I will read one by one. Not in the words of Supreme Court, I have noted it down. Service of notice under Rule 66(2) is mandatory. All agree it is mandatory. Sale without notice is a nullity. That's the point. Sale without notice under Rule 66 is a nullity, is what the Supreme Court said in Deshabandhu Gupta's case. That is a point which is to be noted, whether it is correct or not, whether the Supreme Court has said something else in an earlier larger bench decision, and what did the Kerala High Court say, Justice P.K. Balasubramaniam, on that point. All these things we will see. Second point decided, court should apply its mind to the need for furnishing the relevant and material particulars in the sale proclamation. Record should indicate application of judicial mind. Court has the obligation normally to state the valuation given by both decree holder and judgment. 1973 Supreme Court was relied on. 87 Supreme Court 2081 is not referred to. Shalimar Cinema is not referred to, but 73 is referred to. When no notice is issued to the JD under Rule 66(2), he is not required to submit his valuation of the property, and therefore failure to submit the valuation would not preclude him from raising objection after sale. Non-compliance with Rule 66(2) renders the sale void ab initio. Please note. What is the significance of this? If the sale is held to be void ab initio, where notice is not served on the judgment letter under Rule 66, if sale is void, it need not be set aside. If the sale is not void but only voidable, sale has to be set aside either under Rule 89 or 90 or 91 as the case may be. But something has to be done to avoid the sale. Whereas if it is void, one can say the sale is void, there was no notice. Court must apply its mind on the question as to the extent of the property to be sold to satisfy the decree. Non-application of mind is a material irregularity which vitiates the sale. That all the decisions after 1990 Supreme Court 119 say so. Then another question which was decided, the distinction between section 47 and order 21 rule 90. What are all the what is the scope of section 47? Which are all the things which will come under 47 which are outside it? That was also decided. We will deal with section 47 in detail, but please note this was decided and held that pre-sale illegalities committed in the execution are amenable to the remedy under 47. 47 is a complicated section, complicated in its interpretation, application to various situations. It is still thousands of decisions are there under section 47, and I will deal with it later. Pre-sale illegalities committed in the execution are amenable to the remedy under section 47, and post-sale illegalities or irregularities causing substantial injury to the judgmentor are covered under order 21 rule 90. That is a distinction which has been made. Now we will go to Deshbandhu Gupta. We were dealing with Deshbandhu Gupta, in which all other points nobody will have any dispute except this, whether the sale held without any proper notice or defective notice under Rule 66, whether the sale will be void or whether it will be voidable in the sense that whether it can be set aside under Rule 90 is the question. There was a decision of the Kerala High Court in 1970 KLT 440. 1970 KLT 440. It is a full bench decision by Justice P.T. Ram Nair, Chief Justice, P. Govindan Nair, Justice, and Justice K.K. Matthew. All very top judges. Justice K.K. Matthew went to Supreme Court. And there the question which was held, Govinda Menon versus Varki, name of the case, Govinda Menon versus Varki. Sale held without notice to the judgmentor under Rule 66. The question involved was whether lack of notice to the judgmentor before settlement of proclamation would make the sale that followed on such proclamation void. It was held sale is not void, but it has to be set aside. See the discussion, very detailed discussion has been made in that decision. I am not going into all the relevant details. Thereof, please read. Sale is not void, but it has to be set aside. Then the question arose before the Kerala High Court in 1999 1 KLT. 1999 1 KLT 380. Jolly Therian versus Kuruvilla. Jolly Therian versus Kuruvilla by Justice P.K. Balasubramanian. There the question was absence of notice or defective notice under Rule 66, whether it would make the sale void or whether it is for the judgmentor to make an application under Rule 90 to set aside the sale. There it was held that it is not void. distinguished. But Deshabandhu Gupta is there. How to get over that? There, Justice Balasubramaniam held that there was a binding precedent, 3 judges in Dhirendranath Gorai and others. Dhirendranath Gorai, Gorai and others versus Sudhir Chandra Ghosh and others. AER 1964 Supreme Court 1300, 3 judges. And therefore, Justice Balasubramaniam preferred the 3 judges decision and held distinguished Deshabandhu Gupta to that extent that, and it was held that the sale will not be void. It can only be set aside if there is any irregularity under Rule 90. Now, this is the significance of the proclamation of sale, absence of notice. There are so many other decisions. I am not referring and troubling you with all those decisions. Go through the various decisions, commentaries, but for the purpose of law students, the things which I have said now would be sufficient. But for lawyers, that is not sufficient. Lawyers have to deal with various aspects in various cases. Now the significance, and also please see Bahuleyan versus Musa, 2006 4 KLT, 64 KLT, 882. Along with various other points, this point, Rule 66, was also considered. And also 2011 3 KLT, 2011 3 KLT 53. K.A. Sukumaran versus Kerala Permanent Benefit Fund. Kerala Permanent Benefit Fund. You have to see also Rule 334 and 340 of the Civil Rules of Practice. 330 also. Now, mode of publishing, Rule 67. Mode of publishing the proclamation of sale. Rule 67. Every proclamation shall be published as nearly as may be in the manner prescribed in Rule 54, Sub-Rule 2. Rule 54, attachment of immovable property. We have seen the manner in which it should be published. Tom, conspicuous part of the property, and all those things in the courthouse, in the panchayat, and all those things. Where the court so directs, such proclamation shall also be published in the official gazette, or in a local newspaper, or in both, and the cost of such publication shall be deemed to be cost of sale. See the importance of such court auction sale, where very valuable properties would be dealt with. Even in the newspaper or in the gazette, it is not necessary in every case, but there may arise where large extents of properties are being sold. Then the court may think of publishing in the newspaper. We have seen such publications, such advertisements, court notices, where property is divided into lots, where the property is divided into lots for the purpose of being sold separately. It shall not be necessary to publish the proclamation of sale separately for each lot, unless proper notice of the sale cannot, in the opinion of the court, otherwise be given. What is selling in lots? I will explain. Unless the court so directs, it shall not be necessary to send a copy of the proclamation to the judgment. Now, what is selling the property in lots? We have seen that Rule 64 and 66 mandates that only such portion of the property as is sufficient to satisfy the decree alone shall be sold. The court may, to ensure it, may direct that sale of the property can be made in lots. Suppose the total extent of the property is 1 acre. Court may say one plot having an extent of 10 cents may be sold first, then next another 15 cents, 20 cents, like that. And it may be specified by properly identifying those plots, whether it is in a sketch or plan or by proper schedule, survey number, boundaries and other details, so that the intending purchasers know the exact identity of the property. What is the benefit of this selling in lots and specifying the lots? Because the sale fixed on a particular date, first lot is sold, the amount is not realized, then it need not go back to the court. It can be directly second lot can be sold, and if the amount is realized, then stop there. And what will happen if it is not done? If an entire property is sold, the court may set aside the sale. We are going to see several decisions on this point while dealing with Rule 90. Therefore, the court has to be imaginative. Lawyers also should take appropriate steps at the appropriate time so that their client's property is saved to the extent it could be saved. Not that he should be put to peril only on the ground that he did not pay his debt, decree debt, and it is compulsory to resort to court auction sale. So it is there the role of the lawyer comes. Lawyer has to be careful. He has to take all precautions, take all necessary steps to see that only that much property as is sufficient to satisfy the decree debt is sold. Court, going by after 1990 Supreme Court and other decisions, court is also, it is mandatory for the court to decide this question. It is not as if when a proclamation, draft proclamation is submitted, it is not for the court to just in a mechanical manner, in a perfunctory manner to decide it. We will go to the next episode after the other relevant rules will be discussed. Thank you.